This is Stan Stevens. I'm talking to Phillip Mercer, candidate for the District 1 Commissioner on the Republican ticket. Well, first off, Phillip, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, Phillip, I want you to talk a little bit about yourself, obviously. Obviously, you're a Dent County resident, obviously, but go ahead and give us a little breakdown on the family, etc.
Well, I've lived here almost all my life. I spent about 10 years in Florida. I did telecommunications down there.
Okay.
Married my wife, Stacy. She's a physical therapist in Rolla and Salem. Well, just Rolla now with everything going on. But
one location.
I've got 3 kids. My son's a senior this year, so I'm actually hoping he has a senior year. And I've got a 10-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. I own Mercer Excavating here in Salem. We have a small cattle farm south of town that we run together.
How long have you been in business?
About 3 years.
3 years, okay. Very good.
I really like it.
Very good.
Except for when it rains.
And you got all.
But we need the rain.
We need the rain. And excavating in Dent County, you come up with all kinds of soil types, I'm sure.
Yes,
right?
you do. Yes, you do.
From those rock soils all the way to the sand soils.
And they're 3 foot apart.
Yeah.
You hit rock, and you move over a foot, and you hit great dirt.
Yeah, well, and it does happen. That's Dent County, man.
Yes, it is.
It sure is. Well, first off, thank you again for coming in and spending some time with us. A little bit about you is one thing, but let's find a little bit about the commissioner status that you're running for. Obviously, you have been to some commissioner meetings. You know a little bit about the situation. What was the driving force that made you think, I think I want to go for that job? I think I want to be a commissioner.
Well, first of all, being a business owner and a father and a resident in Dent County, I just want to see it grow, because when we found out we was pregnant, there was no place else I rather wanted to be than Dent County. So we moved back. And
I see.
I just want to help Dent County grow for my kids. So when they are able to come here, raise a family and prosper and, just have a really good future here, which Dent County is a great place for that.
And that comes from your past.
It does. It does. And I've never been a stand on the sidelines kind of guy, and I didn't want to complain about something without doing something about it. So this was the next step for me to help.
Like any political office, commissioners, it's not just a one kind of deal job. It used to be called a road judge years and years ago. That's probably before you came here.
Right.
But road judge, that term is no longer used. When you call about a district commissioner, there's a lot in commissioner's job now, responsibilities that go with that position. And you got a little taste of some of that at some of the meetings. Was some of that surprising to you?
It was because all you ever hear about is the roads
Sure.
and the conditions of the roads, but that is such a small percent of what they do, because they do the budgets and everything like that, which is such a big part to having good roads that people don't realize that it is not just that I go in there and I grade roads. They take care of Dent County as a whole, as a group, and it was eye-opener when I went in there, because there was a lot more to it than what people realize.
And also trying to make sure that the guys who are doing the road work have the right equipment.
Yes, and that it's running good, maintained good. I've even met with the guys out at the shed a time or two, and it's not that nobody wants to do it. They just, you got to have everything to do it.
Right. Sometimes getting that equipment is not as easy as it looks, and I know that there's been at times some issues with some of the equipment where they've had to have replacements brought in, and that part of the commissioner's job, getting on the phone and getting on the horn and having to raise a little stink with a salesperson
Absolutely.
to get that replacement in. But it's critical to Dent County roads and for the people who have to get to and from their locations, correct?
Yes, it is. And especially with the COVID and everything going on, it's so hard to get stuff. So if they need a computer for the road grader, well, it may take an extra week or two. Well, 1 week without that road grader makes a huge difference on the roads.
One of the things I remember when you start talking about being a commissioner that people don't really realize about is brush cutting. I mean, everybody's brush is always too high. Well, I think the commission has 6 brush cutters, and I think they'd have 12. I don't think they could still cut the brush enough. But there is that limitation as a commissioner that you can say, we can only do so much.
Right. Well, as a farmer, trying to keep my own farm bush hogged, is a never-ending job. It's just like mowing your yard. About the time you're done, guess what? It's time to do it again. it grows as fast as you cut it.
Yeah, it sure does. And a lot of different things with a commission that you're going to be 24/7. Not everything is always perfect. Storms come up, trees fall down, rains come up, wash part of the road away, and guess who gets the phone call?
Oh yeah, that'd be me. That's all right though. I'm used to those phone calls because like I said, I've been owning my own Mercer excavating for 3 years now, and I get those calls. Anyway, I mean, I'm already getting the calls, from people. Hey, my road washed out, or I need a new culvert in. Can you bring me some rock? And it's just going to be the same way I attack that, just on a larger scale. Get a plan, get everybody together, and go out there and knock it out.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at the budget, but the Dent County budget is made up of like 47 different budgets. When people start to look at that, they kind of get squeamish. That's a lot of different budgets, and it's going to be in things, obviously, that you've never had experience in.
Right.
Like we talked about earlier before we came on, there's a learning curve, isn't there?
There's I'd say there's probably at least a year learning curve. Like I said, I went to a few of those meetings just trying to get a base of it, and there's still a lot to learn. I'm hoping that, if elected, I can get in there and focus and try to learn it as fast as I can. Even if that means spending a couple extra days in there, trying to do that. But
one of the things that, when you talked about growth in Dent County, we can kind of take a couple examples. Number one, obviously, we have a new jail. Some people may say that's growth. Some people say, that's a lot of wasted money. It all depends on your perspective of it. But when you look at it as a commissioner and knowing this is almost a 4-year project that's just getting completed,
right.
In your opinion, did the commission do a good job with this by hiring a construction manager, by doing it right with the architects, and you've seen the finished product? What's your opinion of the new jail and how the commissioners handled it?
Well, I think they handled it fairly well. I mean, they probably could have done a few things different, but they've never built a jail. There's a lot of trial and error in that stuff, and it looks good. I mean, I think we probably could have found a better location for if they ever need to expand or anything, but that's.
Sometimes you only
that's a touchy subject any way you go with it.
Well, it is, but you have to make a decision somewhere.
Right.
They wanted to attach it to the current judicial building at one time, and so that's really why the reason of making that decision to put it there. There wasn't enough money to put the courthouse in there and different things of that nature. New courtroom and things of that nature. But that doesn't mean, as commissioner, that you may have some ideas on that.
Yeah, there will be some ideas that I've got rolling around in the head that might, just from an outside perspective looking in, going in there, it might help, and they might disagree with it.
Right. So let me ask another question about possible growth. Sally Burbridge, who is the Salem Economic Development Director, but is partially paid for out of Dent County funds and the IDA funds, she attends a meeting once a month and gives an update, and she just presented a very big presentation to the IDA board. How important is it that Salem and Dent County have an Economic Development Director on board that is bridging that communication between city and county?
I think it's very important. I mean, you're not going to grow if you don't have somebody going out there and putting feelers out. Like, she may hear, this company's looking for a rural area to build a manufacturing building. Well, she can get in touch with them, bring them down, and commit to them to show them areas and see what they're looking for in rural areas. I mean, because you have to grow. Dent County has to grow just like any business, 3 to 5% every year to be successful.
Right. And you as a business owner know that she's there for you as well.
Correct.
Working with those existing businesses to make them grow, because that's where a lot of your internal growth comes from, right?
Absolutely.
We talk a little bit about tax dollars. When you start talking, obviously, roads, people pay for taxes, their road and bridge tax and their personal property tax and their real estate tax, and I pay all these taxes. But 90% of the road taxes actually come from CART funds and general revenue, not the taxes you pay on your property.
Right.
That doesn't pay for much of your road at all. However, but people do pay taxes, and you would be as a district commissioner would be the steward of those monies, whether it be sales tax, CART funds, or whatever, right?
Yes. Yes, and then being able to distribute those, in areas like if we have a big, huge flash flood like we had a few years back. Well, obviously you were going to have to pull a little bit of money away from other things,
sure,
and put it on them roads because they're going to need that extra care. And keeping the roads up, and just making it safe to travel is going to be huge.
And with your expertise in the business you're in, if your guys are having a problem with a road, will you personally go out there and say, let's take a look at this and see what the problem is?
I am definitely the guy to be in the ditch. I enjoy being in the ditch. Well, when I started my business, a lot of times people would go talk to the guy I hired to run the excavator because I would be in the ditch with the shovel. And he'd have to tell him, no, that's the guy you need to talk to. And I would rather have a shovel in my hand than sit in an office any day.
But you'd rather attack that on site because you can actually now see what the problem is.
It's like anything. If you hear something, from a third person, well, a lot of that important stuff gets left out. Where if I just go out there and see, oh, okay, well, let's go ahead and get this done and fix it. Because, that person could tell their boss, and then they tell me, and by the time I hear it, there's a lot of crucial information that you may not get.
Right. And
if you're there looking at the problem, what do they say? 2 heads are better than one. You got 2 guys brainstorming over how to fix a major problem. It gets fixed.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be simple as putting a new culvert in and changing a drainage. And
it may be something as simple as just needing an extra hand.
Yeah.
Which I have no problem getting down in there and getting dirty with them.
Yeah, very good.
I'd actually enjoy it.
More fun, right?
Yeah, it'd be like an everyday job.
Yeah. Well, but one of the things that when we start talking about being a district commissioner is the responsibilities that are just outside the Dent County office. And there are a lot of those. There's a lot of committees that commissioners have to serve on. And we all know that these are things that a lot of times people, when they get elected, they're not really all familiar with those things, like Tourism Tax Committee, South Central Missouri Community Action Agency, the MRPC, your Missouri Community Association of Counties, and the County Commission of Missouri, and then you got training. It's not just a 9 to 12 job 2 days a week, and then you get to go back and sit on your grader and have a good time, right?
It's pretty much a full-time job.
Yeah.
Which I'm looking forward to it. I like a challenge, and trying to move Dent County forward and make it a better place to live. That's a challenge. I'm excited to take on. I really am. I really am.
And when you talk about that learning curve, when you start talking about these other different types of committees, you're going to learn about so many different programs that you're not even familiar with.
I'll learn about stuff that I probably didn't even know was going on.
Right. Or you've heard about it, and you just didn't know about it. So that makes a big difference, but you're willing to take that all on.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm actually excited to do it. I really am.
Well, it's going to be here before you know it. So as we get down near to the end of our little talk here, why Phillip Mercer for commissioner? What is it about you that you think that would make you excel at this position?
Well, I think, like I said before at the beginning, I worked telecommunications for 10 years. I was a field superintendent. I managed, up to 30 guys at a time, workforce. Between that and trying to get jobs done on a budget, on schedule, making sure everybody's doing their job, having the materials they need, it would roll right into county commissioner with trying to get the road crew together and getting everybody where they need to be on time. I think that would just absolutely, it's the same.
And the job you have now dealing with the general public.
Yes, dealing with the general public because, not every customer's happy.
Right.
Well, you're never going to make everybody happy, All you can do is do your best.
Right.
Which is what I can guarantee that if I'm commissioner, they get my best.
And with your expertise in the roads, maybe you can explain why a situation is to somebody in the general public, maybe a little better than others, because you can say this is why this is breaking up.
Absolutely.
And this is why we can't grade it.
Right.
Okay. Well, Phillip, we really appreciate you coming in. Any last words you want to say?
Yeah, I'm going to be in the dunk booth at 6 o'clock Friday for His Place Soup Kitchen. Come out. This is the official Dent County challenge to come try to dunk me.
All right, that sounds like a winner. Well, we want to remind everybody to vote on August the 4th. Phillip Mercer, District 1 Commissioner on the Republican primary, and we want to thank you again for coming in and spending some time with us,
Thanks
talking
for
about
having me.
just talking about you, and let people know that you're real and you're
Yes,
willing
I am.
you're willing
Yes,
to take
I
on a
am.
challenge.
Absolutely, 100%.
Phillip, appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.